Mazda. You have
standing from the three-point range. And I think you can watch the technique. You can see Jeff Lebo. Good hand control. Look at that steady head on his shot. He has an excellent balance when he goes up and shoot. And if you go ahead and watch him throughout the course of the day, you're going to see some great technique. And in regard to Flory, the same thing will hold true. Although you're seeing a left-hander right here. Look at him square up to the basket. Good follow-through. Square back. Stays right with his shot all the way. So if you want to watch two fellas that are very proficient with a three-point play, you can watch them here today.
Well, we'll probably see the three-point goals be attempted a number of times by those two young men throughout the course of the 40 minutes of action here at Chapel Hill today. This has been our game plan brought to you by Mazda. The Carolina Tar Heels going for their 23rd win of the year. Marquette looking for win number 15 in what would be an upset. Stay with us. We'll be back.
The Smith Center. Today, the Tar Heels host the Warriors of Marquette University. Here are the starters for today's game. At forward for Marquette University, number 25, David Boone. At forward for North Carolina, number 35, Dave Popson. For Marquette at forward, number 31, Mike Flory. And for North Carolina, number 24, Joe Wolf. At center for Marquette University, number 54, Tom Kopa. At center for North Carolina, number 34, J.R. Reed. At guard for Marquette, number 10, Kevin Johnson. At guard for North Carolina, number 14, Jeff Lebo. For the Warriors at guard, number 12, Michael Sims. And for the Tar Heels, number 30, Kenny Smith.
Well, you've seen the master, Dean Smith, and there's the youngster, Bob Duquette. He had a great college coaching career at St. Peter's of New Jersey, and Billy really was a control specialist without the clock in his tenure as head coach at St. Peter's. But, of course, now with the clock, he can't do it in this era as you look at the three officials who will work it. But he studied under one of the masters, Pete Carrill. He coached as an assistant for 1 year at Princeton.
Yes, he was with Pete for some time. He had a lot of Eastern influence to his basketball. He played college basketball under Bob Cousy, which was basically a fast break type operation, and as I mentioned, he was an outstanding player but hurt his knee, and that really curtailed his career up there. But you know, there was kind of a rap on him in the fact that he had coached under Pete Carrill, and then when he went to St. Peter's, he had played the same basic style. People said, well, you know, we don't want to hire a coach that plays that style. But basically, I think you'll find it in regard to all young coaches, if they have the right kind of talent, they'll go ahead and run with it. It'll take some time to see if Bob can go ahead and recruit those type of players at Marquette.
You look at the matchups again. Boone, Flory, Kopa up front for the Warriors. Johnson and Sims in the backcourt. Popson, Wolf, J.R. Reed. He didn't have to make a bust today. He's in the starting lineup for the Tar Heels, along with Jeff Lebo and point guard Kenny Smith. Series all even at a win apiece. That Marquette title victory in the NCAA Final Four in '77, and the big Carolina comeback at the Mecca in Milwaukee last year. Tom Kopa, Dave Popson, and out of bounds as J.R. Reed and Kenny Smith go scampering after the basketball. It'll be Marquette on the inbound.
Two quick guards, and you can see that right away Bob Duquette wants to get his quickness on the floor to make sure that North Carolina can't press him.
So Marquette setting up as they run their offense. Kevin Johnson and Michael Pop Sims working out of the backcourt. Sims controlling the basketball against Kenny Smith. The turnaround jump hook fails to go by Flory, and the rebound controlled by Joe Wolf of North Carolina. Smith, who had 20 points yesterday against Maryland to lead 6 Tar Heels in double figures in that somewhat tough victory over the Terps in College Park.
Hobson's a guy that should have an opportunity to score something. He really has a mismatch in size.
Joe Wolf got the roll in that time to get the Tar Heels a 2-0 lead.
That front line in North Carolina is so big that there always is a mismatch on the inside at one of the forward positions. Today it's going to be Popson.
Flory on the baseline, driving, found an opening, and ties it up with a good reverse layup in heavy traffic.
Flory started his career at Colorado, then went to Ellsworth Junior College, so he's had a lot of experience.
J.R. Reed just a little bit short. Wolf up and in, and Joe Wolf has all 4 of the Tar Heel points.
Well, Joe Wolf has his dad, mom, and one of his brothers here, and of course everybody up at Marquette wanted Wolf to go to Marquette. He comes from up in the area.
Carolina in front 4-2. That's Tom Copa, the big guy, as J.R. Reed comes way outside to get him. Pop Sims on the move against Kenny Smith.
Nice dump pass inside by Sims.
Johnson wheels the pass inside. Contact and a whistle, but it'll be out of bounds to Marquette.
J.R. really showed some athletic ability there, not only trying to draw the charge, but then was able to strip the ball on the way down.
Well, Flory, one of the 2 youngsters we were talking about at the top, an outstanding 3-point shooter, and he's a forward. That's Flory with a basketball. He finds Boone inside, and he blew a grip shot, got his own missed shot back, rejected out of bounds by Wolf.
North Carolina trapped man-to-man out of that out-of-bounds situation, and that's how Boone got so wide open. But I think the ball just kind of slipped right out of his hand. Just never had control.
Carolina leading by 2. Marquette controls the ball, and Carolina looking to trap again as the ball is deflected out of bounds. Kenny Smith said no, and the official said yes, you did.
Well, Pop Sims had to feel Popson coming from his backside. When you feel that, you've got to pull yourself back, not get yourself into that double-team trap.
Johnson drives into the land of the Giants, shovels it off to Boone, the fadeaway rainbow. Popson had Boone on his back, and David Boone gets his first foul.
You notice, Marty, that Boone so far has been trying to stay away from getting his shot blocked. That's a big fadeaway there with J.R. Reed coming after him. He's got to go ahead and just put that shot up, let it get blocked, and get it back a second time and go up strong.
Well, we've got a timeout on the floor here at the Smith Athletic Center in Chapel Hill. We've played only 1 minute 57 seconds, and the Tar Heels lead the Warriors by a score of 4-2. With only 1:57 gone here in the first half, Dave Popson will trigger to Kenny Smith, and the Tar Heels are underway. As you take a look at that overtime final at the ACC in South Bend, as it applies to Independence, Billy, I would say Notre Dame pretty much locked itself up an NCAA bid today.
And maybe part of the ACC championship.
That's right.
In the ACC, they have been 2-0 this year.
Beating North Carolina, of course, 2 weeks ago, and edging out Duke in overtime today. Carolina by 4 here at Chapel Hill. Marquette, Pop Sims, Kevin Johnson. There's Mike Flory to the baseline and swings it back outside to Big Tom Copa.
Some switches made right now. Popson gets back in his own man.
Copa gets the garbage basket. That looked like a pass. There it is, and whoever picks it up, go for it.
You're exactly right, Marty. That wasn't intended for Copa at all.
Marquette gets a break, the near steal by Flory, and Popson burns him on the 15-footer.
Look for Popson to have a big day offensively. I just think that's a mismatch that North Carolina can really take advantage of.
8-4, Tar Heels in front. Johnson drives, nice pass that time. He found Boone open inside.
That's going to be pretty hard to trap those 2 guards, and I'm sure that's why Bob Duquette went and employed his 2 quick guards out front. They're just going right by the double team.
2-point game, Carolina. J.R. Reed pinned to the end line, finds Lebo.
That's where that strength helps. J.R. went right through the double team.
Bank shot fails. Lebo tried to get it back, couldn't. Here comes Marquette. Pop Sims leading the Warriors up the floor into the breaking Flory. It was rejected. No whistle. Marquette keeps it.
Pretty good job by Flory to go ahead and act his way in here, but J.R. Reed makes the block, knocks it out of the way. I think a good no call by the officials.
Joe Wolf will sit down, and Scott Williams, the freshman from Hacienda Heights, California, comes in. J.R. Reed leads the lineup, and Curtis Hunter comes off the Tar Heel bench.
You can see what Dean Smith's going to try to do early is wear this team down, because Bob Duquette can only go about 2 deep in that bench.
There's a trap. Sims dribbles away, again finds Boone inside, rejected from behind by Williams. Pop Sims standing right inside the 3-point arc, misses a jump shot. Williams kicks it out to Kenny Smith.
Good pass.
Hunter, the tip no good by Popson, the rebound control by the Warriors. Well, if Boone is true to form today, he'll haul down a bunch of missed shots. He has almost 9 rebounds on the average per game.
And very consistent. It's not like one game he gets 15 and then he gets 5. I mean, he stays around that double-figure count every game.
Johnson misses from long range. Popson clears it out for the Tar Heels. Kenny Smith.
Nice when you've got a guard that can take it all the way or pull up and hit the jumper. Kenny Smith does that about as well as anybody in the country.
The lead for the Tar Heels goes back to 4-10-6. Carolina will again substitute at the next opportunity. Marquette coach Bob Duquette exhorting his team from in front of the Warriors bench. Pass intercepted inside by Popson. Wide open is Curtis Hunter. The lead goes to 6.
There's a case, Marty, where Marquette's getting back on defense, but they really didn't adjust. They had enough people back there, but they didn't even look for men.
Well, the bucket by Curtis Hunter has gotten the crowd into it. Scott Williams almost came up with a takeaway against Tony Reeder. Three-pointer by Flory, and that's what we were talking about at the top.
You notice how he squares up. He's behind the line. Knows exactly what he wants to do with that shot.
Kenny Smith just tips it over to his backcourt colleague, Jeff Lebo, gets it back, and he goes for 3. Hunter tipped it out, but it's picked up by Sims. He goes baseline to baseline, and Marquette pulls to within 1.
Really showed some athletic ability going right by Jeff Lebo. He's got a lot more athletic ability, a lot more quickness.
12 Carolina, 11 Marquette. 14:30 remaining in the first half.
You see Marquette go into a 1-2-2 zone, figuring that maybe those mismatches inside from a size standpoint would hurt him.
Popson finds Williams, and Williams finds the basket and will have a chance at the three-point play the old-fashioned way.
And one of the real problems is when you have 2 small guards and you play a zone, particularly the way North Carolina attacks it. There's Popson at 6'9" or 10 out front with those 2 guards, so he has a perfect passing lane right over their head, and he just went right over the top of the zone. So it's very difficult to play the zone with guards of that size.
The foul called on junior Tony Reeder, second team foul against the Warriors, and Williams on the free throw line.
And Bob Duquette makes the change. If he's going to go in zone, he's going to have to go ahead and play just a 1-guard offense.
The lead remains 3 for North Carolina, 14-11. Sims with Ranzino Smith just into the game, playing him. Reeder kicks it back to Sims. Got the pick from Copa, but gives it up. Baseline drive. Inside, the shot goes. Good play there. Tony Reeder, and Marquette continues to make pretty good passes inside.
Excellent bounce passes inside. Good penetration on the part of Smith.
14-13.
Now, Marty, you see the zone. It's a lot different. Pop Sims up the top, but with Smith in the game, you've got a little bit more size on the wing.
Steve Bucknall. Ranzino Smith for 3. Rebounded inside. Williams, he hooks it in. I'll tell you, this kid played very well off the bench yesterday up at College Park and is doing it here this afternoon on his home turf.
Well, based on last summer's performance, John Thompson was looking at him seriously as a potential candidate as a center spot for the Olympic team. Now, that's projecting a couple of summers down the road, but that shows you the confidence they have in him.
Flory spinning away from the double team, kicks it off to his attacking teammate. Another fine play on the offensive end by Marquette as Tony Reeder was the recipient of the good pass from Flory to get the bucket. Carolina by 1, 16-15 with 13 minutes on the clock. Marquette hanging in here in the first 7+ minutes.
And they've gone back to their man-to-man.
Bucknall driving on Flory, hooking it over Copa, no good. He whipped his man, but Copa dropped off to picking up.
See, Bob Duquette, when he doesn't have an absolutely perfect break, he brings it back out, wants to take a little time off the clock. Holland Notre Dame doesn't want a 90-point game here.
Marquette looking to get the lead. Tom Copa head faking, and Marquette jumps in front 17-16. Long jumper from the outside, misses by Bucknall. The ball cleared out. Marquette doing a pretty good job at the moment on the defensive boards. They'll go the other way.
And there was a case where Smith pulled up. You almost want for Pop to slow down a little bit because he's trying to force the break when it's not there. Tony Smith had to pull up. There was no passing lane at all, and Johnson's going to come back in, let Sims sit down for a little bit.
And Joe Wolf has come back into the Tar Heel front line. Williams giving Carolina a very productive 2 or 3 minutes before going to the bench in favor of the senior Wolf. There's Kenny Smith.
Caught Johnson looking, trying to get on the overplay.
Smith has 4. Scott Williams 4. Joe Wolf 4. Carolina getting balanced scoring here in the first half to again lead by 1. David Boone kicks it back outside. The bad pass inside, picked off by Wolf, and now Kenny Smith. Ranzino wheels it inside to J.R. Reed. He puts it up. Copa blocked the shot, but also got him on the hand, and Reed will shoot two.
And J.R. is so quick with that turnaround jumper. He's got a lot of the moves of Kevin McHale.
You're right.
And he has a little bit more quickness than McHale, certainly at this age anyway. But he has a lot of those turn, spin moves, pump fakes, comes back the other way. Very effective.
Billy, I know you see a lot from year to year of the high school kids, the juniors and the seniors, that eventually will go somewhere and play college ball. Is he a better player as a freshman than you anticipated he would be?
Not really. To be honest with you, I saw him play in the McDonald's games last year and in the practice sessions, and he showed the real skill levels. I think what happened to him last summer, when some people said that they weren't impressed with him, I think he was just worn out from playing an awful lot of ball.
We've got time out on the floor. 11:32 showing on the clock. The two hits by Reed makes it 20-17 Carolina. We'll return after this from Budweiser.
Be right back, Pop.
This Bud's for all the...
Right inside. Bob Duquette has to be relatively happy at this point, even though he's down 3.
Marquette has the ball. Kevin Johnson controlling against the defensive Kenny Smith. Carolina looking to trap. He gets rid of the ball, and good movement by Marquette. There's Boone inside. And 2 pops at it. Joe Wolf clears for Carolina.
Notice how well Marquette gets back on defense. Very difficult to break them for an uncontested break. Good pass.
Hobson knocked away from behind by Tony Reeder. Tom Copa was holding his ground, and Reeder came in from behind to swat it out of bounds.
Reeder's a good leaper. He's a fellow that Bob Duquette almost has to watch on a game-by-game basis. Some games he kind of disappears, then the next game he can come back and play very well. As an example.
Yes. Poor pass by J.R. Reed, and Reeder burns him for his 3rd field goal. Marquette down by a point, 20-19. Well, the crowd getting a little bit impatient here. Ranzino Smith picked up by the taller Flory, goes to Wolf. He looks low to Popson and puts up the bank shot.
Oh, J.R. over the back, no basket.
He tipped it in, but the basket will not count. They wipe it off on the foul by Reed.
Good call by the official. J.R. just powered this one up. And here's Popson, the guy I think can have a big game if he'll just relax a little bit. And there's J.R. popping the ball right up in the air over Copa, but he did commit the foul. And what's tough for North Carolina right now is that they can't create a lot of points off their press because Marquette has quick guards. So it's hard to get that momentum going.
20-19, North Carolina. Reeder shooting over Wolf. Did not get the roll. Got it back. Fade away. Short Popson. Kenny Smith takes a 3-pointer. Bounce feeding J.R. Reed. 2 head fakes, too strong. Wolf had it, lost it, got it back, and was fouled by Mike Flory.
Flory's a battler out there, but just too much power, and Wolf and Popson up on the boards. J.R. going to one of those patented little shots inside. Here you see both Popson and Wolf having a piece of the ball. Flory just keeps going. Finally gets called for the foul.
Kenny Smith will inbounds on the 4th team foul called against Marquette with exactly 10 minutes remaining in the half, and the Tar Heels in front of the Warriors 20-19. Looping pass and another poor pass by Carolina. Reeder to Copa ahead of the back.
Buddy, I think North Carolina is going to have to get in their half-court offense, not count on trying to blow this team out, start pumping the ball down inside to Popson, Wolf, and J.R. Reed.
21-20, backdoor to Joe Wolf.
It's available inside. They're not going to blow this team away with just intercepting the ball and having to create a lot of turnovers in the backcourt. So it's one of those grind-out type games.
Here's Copa to the baseline, finds Tony Reeder cutting down the lane. Jeff Lebo got just a hand on the ball to knock it away. Otherwise, it would have been a clear layup.
You can see Bob Duquette telling him to pull it back out. Extend the offense up above the foul line.
Reeder has a hot hand, and he continues to have it. 4 field goals and 8 points for the junior from Bellwood, Illinois, and his 23-22 Marquette. There's the alley-oop that almost went into the basket.
You notice North Carolina's not very patient. They're not trying to get the ball down inside the easy way. They're trying to make the spectacular play. Marquette's a little bit too well drilled to do that.
Kevin Johnson backing off. 5-second call. Catches Kevin Johnson and gives it back to the Tar Heels.
Johnson last year had 150 assists on the season. He was the leading assist man for Marquette. This year he's had a hard time getting playing time, only averaging about 15 minutes a game.
North Carolina coming with Kenny Smith, Jeff Lebo, J.R. Reed, Joe Wolf, and Scott Williams is back in. Marquette clinging to a 1-point lead. Carolina trying to get control back. Kenny Smith thought about the three-pointer, gives it up to Lebo, who lost it out of bounds.
Lack of concentration by Jeff Lebo. The pass was there.
Carolina got off to a slow start yesterday. You got to look at Dean Smith. The thing that concerned him about that game was his club's play in the last 5 minutes of the game. He was not happy at all about it, and he can't be pleased with what he's watching here today as David Boone buries one to extend the Warrior lead to 3.
Blue-collar worker inside.
25-22 with 8:07 on the clock, first half. Wolf setting up high. Flory knocks it away, picked up by Johnson. Wolf tries to catch him. It goes back to Flory. He's fouled.
Dean Smith doesn't want to call a timeout, but he'd like to absolutely just tear his guys up. They're just not showing the intensity. They're not showing the concentration. There's a case again where Joe Wolf gets it stripped. Good pass on the inside. Flory didn't have quite enough size to go over Wolf to make that shot, but he did pick up the foul.
So Flory, a 77.3% free throw shooter on the line.
It's amazing. The guy is, what, 3rd or 4th ranked three-point shooter in the country, but didn't look really good on that foul shot. Normally you have a very good release if you can shoot well from the outside. Yanked both of them.
He sure did.
And there's that Boone again on the board.
Here comes North Carolina trailing by 3. Kenny Smith shoots for the tie. Didn't get the roll, but tipped up by Williams once, twice, 3 times as a charge.
Marty, they can wear them out inside if they just get the ball down and low. Just play a power game the rest of the way.
25-24 Marquette. Kevin Johnson. Dipsy doing outside, now goes to the hole. Scott Williams tried to get there and set himself for the charge, but he didn't get there in time.
Here again, good quickness. Williams had the right idea. He just couldn't get that big frame over there in time.
Oh, we've got a close one and an interesting one going here in Chapel Hill. 7:30 on the clock, and with a timeout the score. Marquette 25, North Carolina selected by Raycom Sports, Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions. Any rebroadcast, retransmission, duplication, or reception of this broadcast without the express written permission of Raycom Sports, Jefferson Pilot Teleproductions is strictly prohibited. 1-point game with 7.5 minutes on the clock remaining in the first half. Marquette going about the task of their game plan, Billy, much better than North Carolina is.
Well, they really are. They're spreading the game out. They've extended the offense back up on the top of the foul line. North Carolina is trying to go for knockout punches, and it's just not there early in the ball game anyway. North Carolina goes a little zone here for the first time.
And the three-pointer goes by Pop Sims. That sends Marquette out to a 4-point advantage, 28-24. Inside, J.R. Reed had it deflected away, but there's Bucknell for the pickup.
Looking for backdoor cut. Rancino Smith was open. He couldn't find him.
Marquette very intent on defense. Inside the Wolf. The bank shot rolls in, and he's fouled. 8-point first half for the senior from Kohler, Wisconsin, as the Tar Heels huddle at the line before Wolf shoots it.
There's the lob available. You can see the inside kind of unprotected when Rancino Smith pulls out to the corner. That's going to be there all day long. North Carolina has such a big advantage on the inside front line.
Foul call on Kevin Johnson. This is on the free throw attempt.
Good rebound technique by Copa that time. He brushed the ball out to the side, knew he couldn't catch it cleanly. Stepping away from a North Carolina player.
Here's Pat Foley. He just came into the Marquette lineup a moment ago. He finds Boone open inside. Well, 6 points for David Boone, and he continues to be on the receiving end of some outstanding passes from his teammates. Marquette by 4. Lebo to the baseline, and no further. Finds Rancino Smith, lost it, got it back, stripped to the ball, and this time Marquette picks it up. There's Rancino getting it back. Not strong enough. They wage war inside for the basketball, and Boone has it in the front court.
And a good pullback by Marquette. Now you can notice that they have extended. Look at how far out the offense is extended. So there's a lot of room for passing lanes. Gives Marquette an advantage with their quickness over North Carolina's size.
They ruled that ball went off the knee of Branzino Smith. Duquette looking to make a substitution as we take a look at it again.
Well, a very dangerous pass in the first place to throw it cross court right under the other team's basket. It's the kind of thing you want to hold up and let the man come over and get the ball away from you. Throw that cross court pass, you get in a lot of trouble.
The three-point shooter, Mike Foley, is back in the lineup. Carolina with 7 of them as opposed to 5 for Marquette. Foley plays to Sims outside. Marquette with a 4-point advantage and possession with 5:52 to go in the half. Pass inside, Boone, fadeaway jump shot, short. And they find somebody with excessive contact inside. It's going to be Tom Copa of Marquette.
Notice how Boone put the body into Joe Wolf before he gets the shot. Now, there goes the body. Then he bounces back out to the outside. Pretty good move. He can get away from it. Most of the time, officials are going to call that for a little push.
Is that a foul?
Yeah, I think it's a foul. In other words, anytime that you make contact and gain an advantage, it's a foul. Contact without an advantage, not necessarily, but as a matter of fact, shouldn't be called. But when you make contact, regardless of how strong it is, and gain an advantage with it, then that's what a foul's all about.
Bucknell gives it up. Wolf has it. Reeder all over him. Wolf puts it up anyway. Inside Flory for Marquette. Good lob. Pass to Reeder, who could not control it.
Now Bob Duquette's on Pop Sims a little bit for saying we don't want to go ahead and get that kind of fast break that off unless it's totally uncontested. He'd like this game to stay at this slow pace.
Denny Smith to Curtis Hunter. Steve Bucknell, and JR looked like he turned an ankle. Apparently he's all right, or just slipped as he started to backpedal to pick up the ball. And now Dean Smith all bent out of shape about something on the other side of the floor.
Well, what happened just as that ball was being thrown, JR stepped on Tom Copa's foot and got himself tangled up, so he was on the way down as the ball was coming in, went right over his head.
Bob Sims front court.
North Carolina getting ready to try to trap here.
At Foley against Dave Popson, and having problems finding a teammate open. Copa kicks it back outside. Plenty of time on the shot clock, and Kenny Smith, just by that much, missed a Tar Heel steal. There's a Chevy Chase look-alike.
He's a great piano player.
I was getting ready to say.
Yep, quite an entertainer. Very personable young man.
Renaissance man. Can do a little bit of everything. Graduated cum laude from college.
He's got to be one of the best or most eligible bachelors in the Midwest right now.
Flory out of the left corner. Checked there by Hunter. 30-26 Marquette with 4.5 minutes remaining in the half. Flory baseline, wheels to Copa, turns, shoots it up and in.
This team is really well drilled.
32-26. That's the biggest lead. Bucknell trying to force a pass inside that Flory picks off.
North Carolina just too impatient. They're trying to make the play right away. They bring it down the court. Now, if it's not there, you've got to go back to the power game. They're just trying to make a spectacular play. Good pickup by Hunter.
Sure was. Quick pass off to Sims on the baseline. Shot fails to go. No good. They bang that ball against the boards. It's out of bounds. It'll be Carolina ball. Last touch by Tony Reeder.
Reeder kept the ball alive, which again, a good move on the rebounding position. If you can't get it yourself, particularly on your own offensive board, get it back up there and keep it alive.
Well, a fresh David Boone has come back into the Marquette lineup, but we've got a timeout with 3:49 remaining in the half. Marquette with a 6-point advantage over Carolina. 30 for North Carolina as a Holly Farms player of the game. 6-point lead for the visiting Marquette Warriors, 32-26. 6 turnovers for the visiting, leading to 6 Carolina points, while for North Carolina, they have certainly not taken care of the ball very well at all. 9 turnovers, and Marquette has been able to produce 8 points out of them.
No, Marty, when you look at North Carolina in this period of time of the season, they really, in the last 5 games, you've got 1 overtime win. They really played 2 poor games, had 1 great game, the game against NC State, and then they have a loss. So they're really in kind of a period of down. There's a great move by J.R. Reed. And sometimes that happens. You know, you lose your legs at a certain point of the season. It's a matter of get it back and everybody get crisp. Here's J.R. with that power move on the inside, just so strong.
Well, the Tar Heel faithful are hoping that's the kind of play by their power game inside that might get something ignited here. It's the first field goal Reed has scored today.
Big second half yesterday after he didn't get a chance to start. He's been putting some impressive numbers on ever since he's been getting the playing time.
32-29 after the three-point play by J.R. Reed. Tom Sims wheels to Tom Kopa, looking inside Reeder. And the ball off the leg and out of bounds. They tried to kick it inside for a layup to Boone, and it hit Kenny Smith and went out. Jeff Lebo back in, replacing Curtis Hunter. Here comes Mike Foley returning for Marquette. And Reeder will sit down. Kevin Johnson to Pop Sims. 3:26, 3:25. The clock running. The pass inside Boone. He picks it up. Got it.
They have beat the double team every time today, and the reason for it is Sims is just so quick out there. He beats the original double team, and then they're hitting inside.
34-29. Marquette continues to impress. J.R. Reed moving on Kopa. He puts it up. Too strong. Got it back. And foul that time. So Reed will shoot a couple. Here's a look at the Marquette coach. 2 different years his St. Peter's club led the nation in defense.
You know, a lot of people, Marty, in regard to that particular statistic, talk about what does that really mean?
Right.
If you're a slow-down team, defense used to be judged by how many points you give up per game, and so if you slow down the game, there aren't any high-scoring ball games. Therefore, it looks like you're a good defensive team. John Wooden always felt that the margin of victory was a much better determination, and now you've got the situation where you talk about field goal percentage defense. How well do you do against another team in regard to their shooting percentage? That probably is as good a judge as anything.
34-31. J.R. Reed so far perfect today from the free throw line. He has 5 out of 5. Carolina continues to trail. Pass inside Boone. He gives it up to Kopa. And what do we have here?
Push on the inside, a little late getting there. And have you seen anybody feed the pivot with bounce passes any better than what Marquette's doing today?
Not as consistently as they've done it.
Reminds you of an old Tom Davis Boston College team, the way they bounce that ball inside. Very difficult defensively when you're moving your feet. If that man throws that short bounce pass, it's much more effective. There's another play against the man-to-man out of bounds.
10 points for Tom Kopa. He came into this game averaging 6.5 points a game. And he's had 4 layups and a little turnaround jump shot from about 4 feet away. He's perfect from the field. 36-31. Here's Bucknell. Good drive. Threw up a brick. Thompson will try to follow and did it in very nice fashion.
Bucknell, I think, was surprised how wide open he was, and he did. The shot went up so hard in the basket, but he made a great move to the basket.
36-33, the Warriors in front with 2:12 to go in the half. Stop and go by Kevin Johnson. Pop Sims, Mike Flory drives the end line, lost it, and it'll be picked up out front by Sims.
Flory really puts his head down. He's a hard-nosed ball player. He said he started out his career in Colorado.
Traveling. Good call.
And what's kind of interesting, you know, the Marquette team over the course of this year, with Johnson not playing that much, really hasn't been a good turnover-assist ratio type ball club. I mean, they do turn it over a lot compared to the way they're able to dish off for the assist. They're doing a lot better today. Now, here's that small guard group in the 2-3 zone, or 1-2-2 zone. Let's see if North Carolina throws over the top of it. Bringing Joe Wolf out, they can throw right over the top to Popson and Williams on the inside.
Under 2 minutes on the clock. Kenny Smith to Jeff Lebo. Tar Heels staring at a 3-point deficit intended for Popson, tipped out by Marquette.
Williams had the right idea. He just threw a line drive pass.
Popson will sit down. Scott Williams comes back. 601 wins after the victory yesterday in Maryland for North Carolina coach Dean Smith and his ball club in a dogfight here today at home against Marquette. Kenny Smith cross courts to Lebo. Tries to penetrate. 3-point attempt straight away.
Kenny Smith was fouled on the arm that time. Johnson got away with it.
David Boone with an impressive takedown for Marquette. Here's Flory at the other end, an air ball.
Wasn't set. It wasn't set. Minute 9 to go. Bob Duquette wanted his club to hold it back out. He's got a 3-point lead. No sense forcing up a shot like that.
Clock with a full 45 on it.
You have to really respect Sims' quickness when he can go around to Kenny Smith.
Bob Duquette yelling 1-1-1. But Pop Sims puts it up from the baseline and knocks it in. His third field goal. He has a total of 7 points and a 5-point advantage for Marquette, 38-33. 44 seconds to go. Kenny Smith. Bounce pass inside, stolen by Boone.
It's interesting, Marty. North Carolina seems to be doing everything fundamentally incorrect to play against the Marquette team. They're throwing the ball on the floor against a quicker team, and you want to throw it over their head. They're much smaller.
J.R. Reed to Kenny Smith. He finally saw Kenny Smith and had him ahead of the field, but Reed had his head down, finally looked up, got Kenny the ball, and he took care of the rest of it.
North Carolina extending their defense.
38-35. Final 10 seconds of first half play here in Chapel Hill. Pop Sims, Mike Flory wide open for three. Bingo.
Again, quickness beating size.
Well, Flory living up to his reputation coming in here as he hits 2 3-point goals here in the first half, and that last bomb was a big one. It beat the horn, and Marquette takes a 6-point lead into the dressing room here at halftime in 20 minutes of basketball that has got to be, well, I would say somewhat eye-opening to Dean Smith's ball club.
Marty, you know, if you scouted Marquette and you know the size that they have and the quickness they have, you'd have to question why do you go out and press a team that's got quicker guards, and why, if you're going ahead and playing against them defensively, are you not going inside with the game? It seemed like North Carolina's not paying any attention to what the opponent has in regard to ability, and it's really costing them.
Well, Marquette, of course, as we talked at the top of the telecast, came into this game 14 wins and 8 losses on the year. They still entertain hopes of maybe getting a bid as an independent to the NCAA basketball tournament, and obviously a win here today would open a lot of eyes around the country. Halftime in Chapel Hill. Marquette leads Carolina 41-35. Stay with us.
Let's see if North Carolina is patient enough to go ahead and get the ball down inside.
Reed plays it off to Lebo, and now Wolf.
Lebo hadn't scored today, and you notice in his particular case he has trouble against quickness.
Kenny Smith drives at baseline. Oh,
used it all. Nice with the left hand.
8 points for Kenny Smith. He ties Joe Wolf for high point honors for the Tar Heels. J.R. Reed had 7 in the first half. Tom Copa, the big gun for Marquette, with 10.
Good job by Joe Wolf defensively on that last play. Hanging out there, making sure Kenny Smith didn't get cut off.
Kenny Smith with a steal as he cut in front for the pickoff. Carolina could pull it within 2 or maybe 1. It fails to go as Lebo dial long distance, and here's a foul by J.R. Reed.
Well, J.R. had been pushed off by Copa a little bit earlier. Copa got away with it, and J.R. tried to come back. Lebo not quite set on that shot. There you can see how Copa had developed some room for himself, pushing J.R. out of the way. Did a good job going up with 2 hands.
Up the floor with the ball is Michael Pop Sims. There's Copa, the big guy. Belly up with Reed. He slips down, but got it off to Boone. And he decks Jeff Lebo, and that's a charge. And that could be critical. That's the 3rd foul on David Boone.
Good job by Jeff Lebo getting over from the weak side to help out. That was an excellent bounce pass inside to get the ball to Boone, but a real good job by Jeff Lebo.
Carolina went on an 11-2 run at College Park yesterday, coming out to start the second half after leading by only 1 against the Terps at the break, 41-40. They have scored the only 2 points thus far, and there's a backdoor to Lebo. He was fouled as he tried to get the hoop and also draw the foul.
Boy, it's so tough when North Carolina extends that offense out and you're all by yourself back there defensively against Lebo. You don't want him to touch the ball, but you sure can't let him go backdoor.
Billy, that's a 4th foul on David Boone.
And he's going to have to sit down. Reader coming in for him. And if we go back, Marty, at the top of the show, you were talking about that game in 1977 when North Carolina lost to Marquette in the national championship. And I can remember when they spread out to go to that 4 corners, Al McGuire kept his defensive back guys in. He never let them go out and get extended for that backdoor cut. That's what really frustrated North Carolina. They never could get that easy basket.
Really, how much of his influence, his philosophical approach, however you want to describe it, still lingers at Marquette 10 years after the fact?
Well, I think with the passing of Rick Majerus and in regard to going to the pros, it's about over now in terms of, other than the good memories that Marquette people have, obviously, for the great program he had during that 10-year span.
Actually, the Warriors have had 4 coaches, if you count McGuire in '77. Hank Raymond succeeded him. Rick Majerus, now an assistant with the Milwaukee Bucks. And, of course, Bob Duquette in his first year as head coach here. 41-38. Carolina has shaved the deficit to 3. Kenny Smith looking and cross-courts to Lebo. Fakes a three-pointer, now lets it fly. He cannot buy one. Wolf's there with a rebound and plays to Reed.
That was almost one pass too many. Great catch by Dave Popson.
I thought it was one too many, but they made it work.
Well, JR had the shot, and this is part of the great unselfish nature of a North Carolina team. They're always willing to pass the ball to the next man to get a little better shot. That was quite a play by Popson to catch it and put it up.
Flory called for his second foul, and now it's Popson on the free throw line. Wolf tried to keep it alive, but there to pick it off is one of the little guys, Michael Sims. 41-40 Marquette, still looking to score for the first time here in the second half, the Warriors. Sims with a nice stop-and-go move to beat Kenny Smith, but missed the jump shot. Tar Heels bidding to get the lead. Lebo! Carolina foul point.
Now, Bob Duquette's got a problem. He doesn't have Boone in the game. He's not going to let the game get away from him, so he calls the timeout, but he's got to find out where he can get some scoring now that Boone's on that bench with foul problems.
Prudent timeout by Coach Duquette. 17:31 remaining. Heels have gained the lead 42-41, and we'll be back. Break. Carolina's come out to score 7 unanswered points and take a 1-point lead.
And trying to go for a little knockout blow here with full court pressure. Excellent pass.
Tony Reeder, Pop Sims will set it up outside. Now puts it in the hands of Kevin Johnson.
And the thing that's so tough here, it brings the crowd back into the game if you're Marquette. You're playing without David Boone, the guy you'd like to have in the offense right now. Nice overplay by Kenny Smith.
Sims drives.
Nice shot.
There's Copa. He was fouled, and he'll go to the line.
It's amazing how you get a little frustrated, get out of the offense. Sims took a shot that is not the kind of shot Bob Duquette would like him to take. Fortunately for Marquette, Copa's in the right place at the right time.
Well, David Boone, of course, on the bench for the Warriors with 4 personal fouls. J.R. Reed has just picked up his 3rd for North Carolina.
Copa, not a good free throw shooter, only shooting right at 51%. Last year shared that center position with Walter Downing. People can remember the fine game Downing had against North Carolina up in Milwaukee last year.
Mr. Copa shooting for his 12th point, and he got it. 43-42, the Warriors get it back on the 2 hits by Tom Copa. Here comes Kenny Smith.
Give you an idea, he's only shooting this year 51% and had only taken 33 foul shots all year long.
Smith fakes, gets closer, puts it up, dropped it in.
That was quick on quick. Kenny Smith, that first step is about as good a first step as there is in college basketball.
He has scored 10, and it goes back and forth here in the early moments of the second half with 16:40 remaining. Marquette trails Carolina. There's a trap and there's a foul. Lebo got him.
Dean Smith upset about something that took place earlier. Talking to the officials, maybe a little push away. There's Jeff Lebo reaching in with the arm. And even though North Carolina's been semi-successful in the second half defensively, if Marquette can get them to extend a defense like that with their advantage quickness-wise, they're still going to score some easy baskets.
Joe Wolf tried to get a hand on it, leaving Flory open, but he could not knock it down, and a traveling violation called inside. Reeder went sky high for the rebound, fell down, and Carolina will inbounds with a point lead in possession. Kenny Smith calling out the play. Bounce feeding Wolf.
Looking for J.R. Reed inside.
He finds him. Kevin Johnson and the Marquette Warriors. Copa falls down off the ball. Here's Flory. The corner on Wolf. J.R. Reed goes down. Joe Wolf has a rebound for North Carolina.
Marquette can't buy a basket.
They certainly can after shooting splendidly in the first half. Traveling violation, no offensive foul. He pushed off. Hobson did underneath as he jockeyed for position.
They put an elbow right through Reeder's head. Good pass by Kenny Smith, feet inside. They watch Dave Popson. There comes the elbow right there, hit Reeder right in the face.
And that was part of a directive that Fred Barricat, the supervisor of Atlantic Coast Conference officials, sent out earlier this week, cautioning the officials in the ACC about excessive swinging of elbows by players. Apparently the feeling is it's not being called enough.
I thought that was kind of inadvertent. You know, he was going for position. There was no malicious intent there with that elbow.
Baseline drive. Johnson pulls up and knocks it in. First time that Johnson has scored today, but it gets Marquette the advantage back, 45-44. 15:25 on the clock. We're in the second half, and Carolina involved in a ball game that maybe they didn't feel like it would be this tight in.
At this time of year, you have to expect every team battling for NCAA tournament berth or position. There again, the quickness overcomes North Carolina.
Popson cut in front of Lebo for the steal. Marquette shoots up by 3. They've scored 4 unanswered points and lead 47-45. Bucknall the Wolf. Finding the open man, Kenny Smith, 3. I'll tell you, I thought he had a foot inside the line when he launched that three-pointer.
There's no question he had at least, let's see, it had been his
right foot.
Yeah, he'd have his right foot inside the line. He was stepping on that line when he shot that, and the official had his hand up. Of course, they can make mistakes, too. Fortunately for the official, he doesn't have to think about it because it didn't go in.
No, it did not. Marquette hoping to extend a 3-point lead. Bucknall all over Flory. Ball kicked around and picked up on the other side by Pop Sims.
And that was a good pass by Flory, except sometimes you have to consider who you're throwing the ball to. Copa doesn't have quick hands.
Kenny Smith beat at the baseline, made one lunge to try and cut Johnson off at the pass and picks up his first foul.
Kevin Johnson and Smith, a little push off that time by Johnson as he tried to round the corner, but Kenny Smith just wasn't there in time. That could have been called either way.
Demeanor of Bob Duquette, the Marquette coach. He's made a substitution. Pat Foley in the lineup, junior out of Birmingham, Michigan. That's his second monster jam of the day. He has 14 and 6 points in a row for the Warriors, who now lead 49-44.
Marty, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse, but the quickness factor for Marquette eliminates that kind of trap and defense for North Carolina, and the longer they're going to persist in using it, the more Marquette's going to have an opportunity to stay in this ball game.
16 fouls now against the Tar Heels. Away from the ball, Jeff Lebo knocked down Michael Sims, and the referee was right on top of it. Make that 17 fouls against the Tar Heels, which put Sims on the line.
And they're doing this with Boone sitting on the bench, so their key offensive weapon is not in the game. Bob Sims had the great game against North Carolina last year. Came off the bench, scored 16 points.
Well, he scored 10 here today. The second leading scorer on the Marquette team, averaging 15.9, second only to David Boone.
Those of you remember that game last year, Rick Majerus sitting on the bench, absolutely soaking wet, drenched right on through. He's now with the Milwaukee Bucks.
51-44. Speaking of Majerus, Dean Smith was telling me last night at College Park before the team left to fly home. He said, you know, they're playing today also. He said, Majerus, before leaving, told Dean, he said, look, if you'll play the day before we're to meet on Sunday, I'll play too. So they both agreed to play Saturday and, of course, meet as opponents here on Sunday afternoon.
I don't know why I'd make any concession if I'm a coach. I'd tell them that and then probably not play, you know. Or,
yeah.
I mean, you don't want to give up any advantage.
Bucknall, pass into J.R. Reed.
There's Copa with another foul. He can't handle J.R. Reed, and Marquette can't handle anybody inside, but North Carolina just hasn't gotten it in there.
Well, Marquette has played so very well, but first it's David Boone. Now it's Tom Copa with his 4th personal foul.
J.R. Reed holds that ball up over his head very well on that turnaround jumper. Very difficult shot to block. Now Marquette really in serious trouble on the inside, and no place to go off that bench. He's going to have to stay with Copa in there with 4 fouls, a lot of time remaining. Might even have to think about coming back with Boone, although you'd like to have, as long as you're close in the ball game, you'd like to have to save him for like the last 6-8 minutes.
Well, I'll tell you this, J.R. Reed shooting unlike a 59.2% free throw shooter. He is 7 of 7. 51-46, the Warriors have a 5-point lead. Dave Popson ready to check in at the next opportunity for Carolina, and John Ellenson, a freshman, about to do the same for Marquette. Tony Reeder left open.
Nice follow through.
Reeder with 10 points. 53-46. 13-18 remaining in the game.
People can go back to Black Sunday with Duke having been beaten by Notre Dame and North Carolina on the ropes a little bit in this ball game.
There's Wolf shooting against a double team. Joe Wolf has 10 points. Carolina cuts it to 5.
That inside game's going to continue to be there.
53-48. 12 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in the game. This crowd wants Carolina to start turning things around. Still a lot of time remaining as the Warriors bid for what would be a monumental upset. He could not close the deal, Copa. He made quite a move on J.R. Reed.
It's almost showing J.R. Reed his own moves on the inside. Excellent job, and he doesn't put it away with a basket. There's the fake. He's got it made inside and just throws one up underneath the basket.
Mario's trying to take advantage. That's the first miss from the field today for Tom Copa. Give you an idea of how well he has shot the basketball.
Mr. Basketball of Minnesota in high school.
Over the top to J.R. Hammered, and that might be, nope, it'll be a foul on the newcomer Ellenson, I believe. It'll put Reed on the line again.
Well, if you're Bob Duquette and you're seeing what North Carolina is now starting to go to, you really start getting worried. Say, there's no way I play him inside. And now North Carolina is consistently coming down court, trying to get that ball down in there. And Marquette will be in a lot of trouble trying to stop it. Now it becomes a matter of what they can do on the offensive end, because they're not going to stop North Carolina the rest of the way on the defensive end.
So obviously what you're saying is Carolina has made some adjustments, something that they appeared to be reluctant to do in the first half.
It looks that way to me, Mark.
9 for 9 for J.R. Reed from the line, and an 11-point afternoon. Carolina now down by 3. And pressure onto the backcourt. Pop Sims says, give me the ball. I'll bring it up.
There's the double team, and they can forget that.
Baseline, no shot there. They wheel it back outside. Kevin Johnson says, okay, everybody in this place set up as the crowd roars here at Smith Athletic Center.
Not a bad time for a timeout for Marquette right now also, because the crowd's in the game. Take the crowd out of the game.
There's a steal, and there's a foul on Tony Reeder.
Marquette's only used one so far, Marty. When you get a crowd that's wanting to get into the ball game right now, you've got an opportunity to use them for different reasons, and a good time to use one just to take them out. Get that crowd noise down. Joe Wolf coming over the back. And Bob Duquette realizing he's got to get some courts on the board. He's coming back with David Boone right now. He probably wanted to save him to the 8-minute mark, but he just can't afford to do it.
Well, they put Tony Reeder on the free throw line. His first venture there today, 58.5% shooter. He has a 1-and-1. Scott Williams clears for the home team.
Williams playing a solid game so far.
He sure is that. Kenny Smith for 3. Inside Reeder at the other end. Rebounds with good position inside. Here's a kick out to Sims.
I don't think that was a wise shot by Kenny Smith. They have the inside game going. They don't need to give Marquette an easy time down the court.
Reeder drives a lane, pulls up and fires. Lebo has a long rebound. You saw the three-point shooting for the two ball clubs here today, and still Marquette has outscored Carolina 9-0. Reed. Scott Williams, foul call. Pat Foley commits a foul that apparently will put J.R. right back on the free throw line.
Good pass cross court. Kenny Smith makes the move. Good hands by J.R. That's a tough catch to make that little short pass on the inside. Williams goes up. He's going to be fouled. It's going to be Williams on the foul line.
Not before a timeout is called, however. 11 minutes and 21 seconds. The time remaining in what has been an exciting afternoon of basketball here at the Smith Athletic Center in Chapel Hill.
Marty, what we have right now is that Marquette doesn't want to be charged with a timeout. They want it to be a TV timeout.
Well, apparently Bob Duquette satisfied after his conversation. 11:21 remaining, 53-50 Marquette. Back after these messages from Natural Light. 50 with 11:21 to go. Marquette in foul trouble. They have some people on the brink.
Marty, they better be careful and get outside right now. The horn is blown.
I don't think the rule applies in this intersectional matchup, Billy.
Well, you watch and see. It doesn't apply like it does for an ACC game, but you still go ahead and get called on one. They put the ball in play. What you want to do if you're North Carolina, ask that referee to give you the ball and shoot it up there. If you miss, you get it over again because they've got to have men on the line.
Kenny Smith or Scott Williams will be the shooter for North Carolina. 6 points. He's 0 for 1 from the free throw line.
I know you're talking about J.R. Reed on the foul line today, and if you're North Carolina, you'd love to see him become an outstanding free throw shooter, which I think he has the ability to do because he does have the great natural instincts for the game. J.R. faked the man into the lane that time, almost got by with it. But he has taken twice as many foul shots as any two players, or he's taken more foul shots than any two players on the North Carolina team. Now they're going over the top of the defense, and it's all over.
And we have a tie game. You're going to commit yourself with 11 minutes to go.
It's over.
Okay. 11 minutes to go. 53-53 lockup. And is the crowd ever more into it now? Pop Sims checked on the end line, wheels it inside. Tony Reeder's shot is soft. Kenny Smith has it for the Tar Heels. They fill the lanes as Smith kicks it off to Lebo, and he's looking inside. Scott Williams has to come outside to get it.
And you see Marquette packing the zone back as far as they can. Oh, good steal by Pop Sims.
He strips Reed of the ball and will try to take it all the way, and he does.
Second time today he's taken the ball the length of the court. Scott Williams wide open.
Tough shot there.
Again, North Carolina's trying to go for that knockout flow. They just got to slow down a little bit. If you're Marquette, that's what you want to see.
Oh, wait, you've committed yourself down.
It was over. I'm telling you, as long as they go inside, this game is over.
Okay. 55-53.
Plus, you have Boone with 4 fouls on. You want to make him play somebody the rest of the way.
Well, he's, of course, is back in there. There's Flory with a jump hook. Rebounding J.R. Reed. Kenny Smith blows to the hoop.
Well, he just saw Pop Sims go by him, and he wanted to give him a little treatment.
Little one-upmanship.
Pop almost needed to have a hat on there to catch a cold on that move.
9:40 to go. 55-55. Tar Heels have wrestled that momentum away from Marquette, who led by 6 at the break. Glory, a blind pass. Kenny Smith, Pop Sims, a foot race is on. The winner, Jeff Lebo, misses after Smith missed, and a foul is called.
Problem there for Jeff Lebo and Kenny Smith is that they didn't realize probably it was their own teammate that was trying to battle for the rebound. Kenny Smith showing that he can run, and Pop Sims stays right with him. There's the two fellas battling for the rebound.
Tony Reeder commits a foul. It'll put Lebo on the free throw line. 83.9% for the sophomore from Carlisle, Pennsylvania. 1 for 2 this afternoon.
Dean Smith giving Kenny Smith that little blow that he needs. He's been going back up and down that court 3 or 4 times in a row now.
Smith out. The more youthful Smith in, Ranzino and Tom Copa. 4 fouls in all has come back from Marquette. So they have both of their starting frontline players signed with 4 fouls back in the lineup.
Well, I think a good move by Bob Duquette. You're down to 9:24. You can't allow North Carolina to get a run here and be out of it. No sense saving them for the end of the game if you're behind. So you go ahead and try to have a nice run of points to stay up.
Lebo with 2 hits. Carolina by 2, 57-55. Foley pressured in the backcourt. At the midline is David Boone. Ranzino Smith comes out to greet Kevin Johnson. Tom Copa bounce feeds to David Boone. Patience for Marquette. Johnson with a rainbow. Foley fouled on the battle for the missed shot by David Popson.
Foley a battler on the inside. Good hard-nosed ball player. He was a starter 2 years ago when they made a nice run in the NIT. Worked his way in the starting position.
He'll be back for Marquette next year, only a junior.
That ball has an odd-looking rotation on it.
First point for Pat Foley. And he gets his team back even again. Quickly up the floor to Ranzino Smith. He telegraphs one inside. That's knocked out of bounds by Boone. Carolina's passes have really not been sharp and crisp here today.
Joe Wolf has Reeder in front of him.
Back door.
Good pass by J.R. Reed.
9 points for Jeff Lebo. 59-57. The Tar Heels out in front, and that group likes what they're watching right now. Kenny Smith, he's back at the scorer's table, getting ready to return for Carolina. Here's Boone on the drive. He throws up a prayer. Ranzino Smith runs it down. Pretty good defense that time by Carolina. They check Boone on the end line. Lebo.
That's about the most aggressive move Jeff Lebo has shown today. He really wanted it.
61-57, and it's been a while since Carolina has had the luxury of a 4-point lead. And Lebo, the man who has brought it back, was 6 in a row. Kevin Johnson finds the lid on, and Carolina again up with the ball.
Kevin Johnson trying to do a little bit too much himself.
8 minutes remaining. Joe Wolf for 3. Looks good.
He can shoot that jumper from out there, and Bobby Duquette, he'll go for his time. Got to slow it down.
The first three-pointer today for North Carolina. And it causes a Bob Duquette timeout with 7:50 remaining. North Carolina leading 64-57. They're act together, but apparently they have things in order now, leading by 7 points with 7:50 remaining. And there's the critical situation confronting Marquette in terms of fouls. Tom Copa and David Boone with 4 apiece, while a trio of Carolina players have 3 each.
Wouldn't be a bad idea to try to get the ball down into the man that Boone is guarding, because he's the key figure offensively now for Marquette. They're going to have to get the ball to him some.
Sims to Tom Copa. He's been a big-time scorer for him today. There's the ball deflected by Kenny Smith. Hobson. Smith at the other end has it knocked away by Copa, and here comes Marquette back again. Good defense by the Warriors.
Great job by Reeder. They're trying to go to Boone inside.
Flory, the jumper goes for Pop Sims. That's a 2-pointer for Sims. And Marquette trails 64-59.
There's the opportunity. Popson had Boone.
Sure did.
He's the man to go to. Force Boone to play somebody the rest of the way with those 4 fouls.
Dave Popson with 8 points. Carolina back again by 7, 66-59. Under 7 minutes remaining. Boone gives it back to Flory. Nice pass. And Scott Williams got it.
See Flory moving well without the ball. Good job getting the ball to him. Just too far for Williams to have to travel to come over from the weak side to make that block.
J.R. Reed coming back for the Tar Heels. Leaving is Scott Williams, Steve Bucknall back in the lineup, and Joe Wolf will sit down.
There's a change of assignments. Boone and Reeder talking down there. You have two changes made in the front line. They're trying to adjust and see who is guarding who. They don't want to get caught in a position where nobody has a man down inside.
Flory, a pretty good free throw shooter, but has missed 2 attempts in this game.
It's funny, for a man that's such a good shooter, he doesn't stay with his follow-through very long. Got a good roll on that last one. See if he keeps his hands up there. Pinches it off. See how quickly he pinched it off? Sometimes you get in a bad habit. You're hitting so many, you forget about the follow-through.
66-61 Tar Heels.
It's Boone on Popson. Copa on Reed. One of those two ought to get this shot.
There's Reed. Short jump shot.
Good play by North Carolina.
15 points for J.R. Reed. Carolina not allowing Marquette to get any closer than 5. They send it back to 7 at 68-61. There's Sims out of the right pocket. Rebounded by Boone. He plays inside, Copa knocks it in.
Boone just out-hustled Lebo on that play. That ball was there for Lebo to pick off.
68-63, North Carolina.
Copa's trying to help Boone out on the inside.
Bucknell on the move. Kenny Smith for three. Well, Carolina, who went 3/4 of this game without hitting a three-pointer, have thrown in 2 in the last few minutes. One by Wolf, and now this one by Kenny Smith. And it's 71-63 as the Tar Heels start to open it up a bit. There's Lebo with a steal. Kenny Smith plays to Bucknell. He plays it through. And a blocking foul, and that's all for Tom Copa, his 5th personal foul.
Well, give credit to Copa for really hustling to get back, but he just couldn't get position. This is an excellent move by Bucknell. Change off the dribble. Copa tries to fake it a little bit, but he's going to have to sit down. That's not all bad if you're Marquette right now, for the simple reason you need quickness in the ball game.
Well, they're going to get quickness back in there because Kevin Johnson apparently is a man who will replace Copa.
Copa going around talking to all his teammates. That 18 points, an excellent day for him. I think that Marquette got a lot of confidence out of this ball game. You come into this arena and play North Carolina a ball game like this, people take notice.
Well, they've got some key games still to be played this season. Return engagements with both Notre Dame and DePaul.
Well, you know what's interesting? Last year, that ball game between Marquette and DePaul probably determined which one got selected for the NCAA tournament. And remember, DePaul beat Marquette, got in the NCAA tournament, got a nice positive roll going, beat Virginia in the NCAA tournament, and look at what it's done for their program this year. I mean, they're really on a roll, playing as well as anybody in the country.
So at times, it can come down to one game.
I don't think there's any question. Had DePaul lost that game, they were really, really on the fence.
10-point Carolina lead, 73-63, 5 minutes and 12 seconds to go. Tar Heels have come back from a 6-point halftime deficit. Marquette led 41-35. Bucknell will steal. The lead is
That's real good anticipation by Steve Bucknell. He's having a good positive game here, although he doesn't have a lot on the board as far as stats. Just about everything he's done today has been positive.
Indeed, Dean Smith's gotten some good play off the bench today from the freshman Williams and the sophomore Bucknell. Here's Flory, baseline, and knocked out of bounds by Jeff Lebo.
The fatigue factor starting to enter into it too a little bit, Marty. You can see that in the case of Marquette, they've only been able to go to the bench with 1 or 2 players that have got any minutes in it all. North Carolina's still very fresh.
Flory will trigger. David Boone, a convention of Carolina players. He found an opening and drops in his 9th and 10 points. 75-65. Carolina up by 10 with 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining.
Joe Wolf has got Boone with him now. With North Carolina and get the ball to Wolf. He wants to swing the ball. They're really looking for him. There he is.
They find him, and he was fouled.
Foley got him and not Boone.
Carolina will have another non-conference game on the heels of this one. They'll play East Tennessee State here on Wednesday night and then get back in the conference. Big Saturday afternoon meeting here at Chapel Hill against Clemson. And boy, if they can even approach the excitement that that first game generated a couple of weeks ago down in Littlejohn, the rematch next Saturday should be something.
Well, that second half that North Carolina played against Clemson, one of the best I've ever seen. And I think it's time people start taking a look at Clemson in regard
Yes, sir.
And to Horace Grant, too. I was looking at his stats. Right now, he's the #1 scorer in the league, #1 in field goal percentage, #2 rebounder, 9th in free throws, 6th in block shots. I mean, we start talking about player of the year,
Yes.
You don't have to look much further.
Now, they have proven their worth by being able to consistently win on the road, which is something that in previous years they've not been able to do. Boone shot rejected.
You know, another fellow that's really doing the job that I hope people are really looking at is Derek Lewis.
Oh.
I mean, and Bob Wade also, what
Yep.
they have done, each game they seem to get better. And that's tough to do when you're losing a lot of basketball games.
I'll tell you, people should not put aside the very real possibility that Maryland could get somebody before this thing is over with.
Well, they played everybody tough.
Pat Foley finds that.
Oh, beautiful pass. That was JR getting a piece of that.
Here comes
foot
Kenny
race.
Smith. Lost it, got it back, and very wisely pulls it back out. Plays to Lebo for 3. Reed is there, and he's fouled, or is he? Nope, traveling violation before the contact.
JR is starting to get physical with him in the inside. I would venture that the next rebound JR gets is going to be a vicious one. There's a super block on his part. He wanted a piece of it down the other end of the floor.
Good defense by J.R. Reed. We've got timeout called. 3:47 remaining. The Tar Heels lead by 12, 77-65. North Carolina as a Holly Farms player of the game. Number of candidates at this juncture with 3:47 to go, and the Heels boasting a 12-point lead. Marquette has the ball. Bob Duquette has coached up a storm here today. Well, I'll tell you, they hung tough.
North Carolina goes to a 1-3-1 zone. Popson running the baseline.
David Boone, he's been able to hang in there with 4 fouls. Copa went out a moment ago.
Takes Boone's inside play away a little bit.
Tony Reeder, Pat Foley will put up the 3. Rebounded by Popson. Carolina will bring it up with 3:16 to go and leading by a dozen.
Ever since Boone's come back in the game, that was what, about 10 minutes to go. He's been able to hang in there with the 4 fouls. Joe Wolf has got him pinned inside. They just can't get him the ball.
Kenny Smith finds the open.
He can really explode.
He sure can. 79-65.
Jim Valvano's comments about that surgery on his knee were kind of interesting. Said if he can play like that in 2 days, everybody needs to have one. Nice pass.
And it's Tony Reeder, missed the bank shot. Follow shot fails by Foley. Contact between Foley and Wolf, and Popson was there along with J.R. Reed. And Popson appealing to the officials, so apparently they got him.
Just Foley had excellent position that time with his body. Pretty strong. Popson tried to reach on him.
Here comes Bucknell back in, replacing Popson. And shooting for Marquette is Pat Foley.
So he can pick up this rotation on the ball. He really shoots it almost like a knuckleball.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It looks like a knuckleball.
I mean, it doesn't rotate at all. But he's 3 for 3 for the foul line so far. Four for 4.
79-67. North Carolina, no hurry at all, with a 12-point advantage and only 2:25 to go. Levo swings it off to Kenny Smith. There's Joe Wolf. Shot rejected and picked off by Kevin Johnson. Good defense on the inside again by Tony Reeder. Shot will go for Johnson, and they put him on the free throw line.
Both Johnson and Sims are really quick in the open court. Going by Kenny Smith, and that's not an easy task. See J.R. Reed trying to go up there for the block. Doesn't get it. Quite a shot.
Oh, with 2:11 on the clock, a hit here by Johnson would cut Carolina's advantage to 9.
Marty, you talk about the traditions of these two schools. They're both working on 20 straight years of postseason competition. That's the record right now in the NCAA.
That's the bottom line as far as the programs are concerned.
You know, in the 70s, we were talking about McGuire before, only 1975 were they not in the top 10 at the end of the year. So 9 out of 10 years in the 70s, they made it in the top 10. North Carolina made it 5 times to give you an indication of how good they were during that period.
J.R. Reed goes back to the free throw line. Bob Duquette a little bit unhappy with apparently his inside defense, reacting negatively after the foul was called.
That just shows the quickness of J.R. Reed, able to put the ball down on the floor. And when you think about his progress in years to come, I mean, he already has the inside game. You really can see him developing into a true forward, because he can put it on the floor. I know on a number of occasions this year he leads the break. He comes out off that rebound and can take it the length of the floor, which is an awesome talent.
He is 10 for 10 from the foul line. And 11 out of 11 and a 17-point day for J.R. Reed. 81-70. We're under 2 minutes remaining.
That's 136 free throws on the year so far. So, as I said, if he can pick up that shooting percentage from the foul line, you can just imagine what it's going to do to his scoring average.
Foley gets a baseline step on Bucknell. Follow shot by Reeder, rejected out of bounds by J.R. Reed.
Bob Duquette just get him out of the game.
Made away by Boone. David Boone scores for the second time here in the second half. He has 12 points. 81-72. Carolina now by 9. A minute 20 to go. Pat Foley, he fouls Steve Bucknell.
Came down over Bucknell's face.
Well, Marquette's going to go home 14-9. North Carolina will go to 23-2. They have had a string, of course, of 17 consecutive years of 20 wins or more. That equals UCLA's record. They were previously the holder of that all by themselves. And Carolina now bearing down on 25 wins. It would give them 25 or more for the 7th year in a row.
And that Adolph Rupp record may not be out of the way.
Tony Reeder. The bank fails. The tip-up goes by David Boone.
Boy, you'd like David Boone on any team.
Yes, sir.
You know, he just does a workmanlike job.
He can play. 81-74, 55, 54, 53 seconds remaining. And a foul stops it at 53. Kevin Sims getting Kenny Smith.
North Carolina going to little four corners there, just trying to spread it out and use up some of the clock.
Kenny Smith on the line. 1-1.
Kenny Smith to the free throw line. He is up there for the first time today.
In that starting lineup for North Carolina, when you start thinking about playoff time, they have 5 of their starters are in double figures, and 4 of those starters are shooting better than 80% from the free throw line, which is really a key when you get down to those close games in NCAA tournament.
It's a tough job trying to find somebody to foul. J.R. Reed, percentage-wise, would be the man, but look what he's done today. 11 hits and 11 attempts. That foul on Kevin Johnson again, and the clock stops at 46 seconds, and this time it'll be Lebo. Jeff shooting for his 12th point.
Marquette has only been blown out of 1 game this year, and that was by Loyola. They played everybody else real tough. And that could be said here today also.
Carolina has shot their free throws extremely well here in the second half. The lead back to 9. Flory for 3.
Kenny Smith wide open.
He's got him ahead of the pack. What have we got here? He caught that pass in open court.
I don't know what they're calling.
I don't either. They call a foul on Pat Foley.
Foley must have committed a free throw, a foul way back down court. Yeah.
He fouled Bucknell as Steve released the pass to Kenny Smith.
Boy, that's quite a piece of officiating there. I don't know how that official ever saw that play, because he was running the other direction, doing a great job being ahead of the pack.
Final 30 seconds coming up. 83 Carolina, 74 Marquette. Jeff Lebo looks and throws it out of bounds. Bob Duquette will take the opportunity to hustle John Ellenson, a freshman, back into the Marquette lineup, replacing Tony Reeder.
Replaces Tony Reeder for Marquette.
Flory shut off on a three-point attempt and throws the ball away. It rolls out of bounds, and Carolina gets it. 19 seconds to go.
JR would like to crush one here. You just get the feeling that he would like to go up and tear the rim off. North Carolina goes to 4 corners, so he's going to try to sneak in here for a backdoor cut.
Well, the shot clock is off. Only 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second, and Carolina heads toward the dressing room. Well, never said it. Let it be said it was easy, because it was anything but that. It took North Carolina a while to get the proper adjustments made, but once they did in the second half, they were able to come back after trailing at halftime 41-35, and they go ahead and close to 9-point win over a tough Marquette ball club, obviously very well coached by 38-year-old Bob Duquette. Final score this afternoon, Carolina wins it by a score of 83-74. And our Holly Farms player of the game, North Carolina's J.R. Reed. He had 3 field goals and a perfect 11 out of 11 from the line. 17-point afternoon along with the 6 rebounds. Holly Farms will contribute $1,000 to the Atlantic Coast Conference to be distributed among the member institutions under a conference-approved plan. J.R. Reed, our Holly Farms player of the game. It's over here in Chapel Hill. The Tar Heels come back to win it, beating Marquette 83-70.